So, good morning. It's Jillian, and I'm drinking some amazing coffee. It's called Half and Half, and it has coconut milk and what is it? Oat milk, and it's good. All right, I'm just checking just to make sure. All right, so, okay, just make sure I was online. So, good morning. Oh my gosh. Just blow my nose because you gotta blow your nose in this environment, and it's only gonna get worse and worse and worse. So I'm just getting used to it. So if you want to know what the devil and the angel is, it's Mother Nature giving you life and taking it away. Good day, John. And so I get now why that dichotomy. Oh, I totally get it. And so when you're like, well, if you're not making the painnment on time or at the time that you should, before your body goes to shit, before she has to go and step in, she'll actually step in and take your life away. She's the devil. See, the Glenda the Good Witch and the Wicked Witch of the East and Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, they were both the same thing. But mankind knows how to compartmentalize stuff and develop stories around the good side and have it be like a total separate, different side of the world. And then there's the seedy side, the devil side, because there's the angel side and there's the devil side. The devil side is when Mother Nature gets pissed off, when she is not getting what is due to her. And so then she becomes like a Lilith. And actually it's funny, my mother wanted to name me after Lilith. And so she said Jillith, but didn't really actually name me Jillith. It was Jillian. But I was going through my YouTube, just looking for videos to watch as I'm going to sleep. And I see there's Lilith. There's this video about Lilith, the she-demon, the something of the night or whatever. And I'm just like, oh my God, like the devil of the underworld or something. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Like, what is it? The queen of hell. And I'm like, well, my mother was correct. I am the queen of hell when you think about it, because when you have to evolve to this environment where you have taken so much from Mother Earth and now she wants her due, you got to deal with hell. And maybe I was a hellion when I was a kid. Oh, I'm sure I was a hellion. Oh, I know I was a hellion. But I wasn't going to take to the programming. I was going to rebel with every ounce of my body. I wanted to live. I didn't want to frickin' die and be a zombie. And she could have put me on drugs and Adderall and all this other crap that was proliferate back then. I don't know if it was. I don't know if Adderall was back in the 80s. But they were doing a lot of psychological testing on me when I was younger, trying to figure out what the hell. Why is she not motivated to do anything? Because I'm in a society that is so just, I don't know, so anti-life. And I come from Vietnam, from a war-torn place, and I want to live. And here I am, I can only eat high-protein cereals and the food that they give me as far as like the meals, but I can't go into the cabinet and go get myself a snack. We didn't have junk food. I didn't get the Twinkies and all that shit. And I know I'm bemoaning my child, but that's what I'm saying. Kids know when something is anti-life and they rebel. So when a kid rebels, something's going on. There's something going on. So anyways, so nature's payment system, the devil, Mother Nature, takes his or her due. And again, that's what pain is. It is your payment for being on this earth, for taking resources. And I really have to glean this out because this will be in the book. Because that's how it's going to explain why you have to deal with pain. See, people don't understand this, that they didn't realize that their resources and the smoke and mirrors of the currency system was a block, so you didn't understand what you had to do to survive in this world, that you had to feel pain in order to survive. That the fact that, yeah, they say that when you get an adverse reaction from a vector, they say it's okay. Well, how is getting an adverse reaction from a vector, a mild one, acceptable, but then when you feel pain, you're going to the doctor to get a painkiller? That's what people are not understanding. Dr. Fauci and whoever else out there that is trying to promote these things already pounding in people's heads that pain is not okay, pain is horrible, pain is this, and then you're saying now it's okay to deal with pain when it comes to an immunological therapy. That's speaking at both sides of the mouth. And then paying for the surgeries, paying for someone to induce pain on you. Well, okay, they're in pain. Is not a payment? Well, you're paying, first of all, you're paying for someone to destroy you. Then you have to go and regrow. You have to heal, all right? And then you're also paying your insurance premiums and your GoFundMe account so you can get all the surgeries and all the therapies. And so then not only are you taking from other people, you're also taking from your own coffers and also giving up your life force to somebody over there in the medical holistic system. And so then, then the doctors and the nurses and all that are double dipping, and they're double taking money, stuff from you. They're taking your life force and they're taking your bank account. And I've said this before, but that's the thing about pain is that it must be understood. And that's why they did the MK Ultra, because MK Ultra was a shortcut to get someone to be innovative that quickly. I mean, but we figured out as far as the JJ crowd, if you're doing it and are off of it finally and dealing with the pain of the viruses, you're going to see that the paiynment will come later. But now you've already got, see, here's the thing, the pain that you're dealing with now, when you're dealing with the JJ right off the bat, is that you're making up for what you should have dealt with a couple years ago before you got your surgery, your pill, your powder, your supplement, your detox, your drug, cannabis, whatever, your alcohol, your sex, whatever. But you don't want to pay Mother Nature for being exposed to an innovative information like a virus. And so what did you do? You push back the payment. She's like, okay, you negotiated with the devil when you think about it. You found a way to not deal with paying your dues for being on this earth, taking in information, and you found a way for someone you went and bought a loan against your life, which is the surgeries, the oncology, the pills, the powder supplements, the detoxes. So you had took a loan out against your life, and now when you're doing the J juice, you are now retroactively paying back all those fucking loans that you took on in the medical holistic system. That's how you have to see what the JJ mentality is. It's forcing you to pay back everything that you ever took from society, forcing you to pay back everything that you ever done to shortcut your way into this world and get all the riches without actually earning it. And that's some fucking deep shit here. Holy crap. That's why it's retroactive evolution. That's why it's so fucking retroactive evolution, because evolution is not just upgrading, but it's paying back what you owe to motherfucking nature. And then she could be the most beautifulest, gorgeous woman in the world, and she could be the ugliest thing you'd ever seen. And that's what the allegory is all about. That's what you're seeing on TV and in the Bible, in all of the different, stories and texts that in the Grimm fairy tales. It's understanding that Mother Nature will give you life and give you every opportunity, but if you take advantage of her, she will kick your ass. Literally, she will kick your ass. And then she goes and inhabits people who then become her little soldiers. And then they become, like I watched about this YouTube video about LAUSD or something. We'll Google that. And there's gangs in the LA Sheriff's Department. And they are the self-proclaimed, judge, jury, and executioner. And so there's even people in our society that were either programmed to be like an antibody to take out the shaft, as well as there's programmed antibodies in your body to take out the things. And what do I mean by take out the things? Well, when you're not wanting to evolve to the COVID-19 and you're trying to take every remedy, detox, therapy, whatever, well, then, instead of you taking remedy, detox, and all that stuff, you just go get something that's programmed against your body, which is the COVID, because COVID needs a host, virus needs a host, and you're the host. And so then your body gets programmed to attack itself because you don't want to deal with pain or deal with upgrading or deal with anything. You want to be out there in society, not feeling shit until your body until Mother Nature takes her due. And so, yeah, there's even programmed serial killers inside your body, as well as out there. That's why, with this whole thing with this gun stuff, it's crazy. It is so freaking crazy. And that's why I posted about gun violence is escalating across the board. Of course it is. We already knew it was going to happen, because what do you do when you want to teach somebody a lesson about how dangerous something can be on such a massive scale? When you catch someone smoking a cigarette that's underage, you give them all the cigarettes, they choke, and they don't want to ever smoke again. Or you say, okay, you want freedom? My mother did it to me when I said I wanted freedom one time, and it was over the weekend. She's like, okay, well, you want to go and hang out with all your friends? Well, I'm going to lock you out of the house, and you're going to go hang out with your friend the whole fucking weekend. So she locked me out of the house for the whole weekend. So I went over to El Cerrito, hung out with my friend, and just spent the night, the whole weekend, and I came back like on Sunday or something. She's like, hey, so how was it? I mean, and I was like, hey, I had fun, I mean, but these are psychological tactics. I wanted freedom. She gave me the freedom. I could have died out there, but no, I had a friend to hang out with, and it was fine. I mean, El Cerrito back then was a little crazy, because there were so many different gangs in the different Contra Costa County. I think that's part of Contra Costa County in California. But that's the thing. So now you're going to see so much gun violence, because everybody wants their guns, Second Amendment, that you're going to see so much crap going on. And so, so we have a lot of Mother Nature working through people, teaching people lessons. And so then I'm like, holy shit, when you realize that for every breath you take in, you have to then go and give back, that's an equal exchange of energy. Right there, that is proof that Mother Nature is about a payment system. Painment system. And this is deep stuff, because I wouldn't have gotten it. I wouldn't have figured this out if it wasn't me feeling that arm pain yesterday. Because I'm telling you, I've been watching a pattern of myself. When you're seeing me get these revelations, it's always after I get exposed to a new viral variant and I'm blowing my nose going through the payment system. I am paying my dues to Mother Nature. And then you see why a lot of people are why back the people of antiquity were worshiping the sun, worshiping the crops, worshiping so much of nature, because they realized there is a payment system going on. Not everybody's aware of it, because, again, man has exploited the art of breeding people who are unaware, and then distracting them through politics, religions, and all the scientific dogmas. And then you wonder why people are just feeling entitled. You wonder why kids are not figuring out how to live in this world, that just keep take, and then destroy themselves at a young age. You wonder why, yeah. And so obviously now man realized what kind of mistakes he's made. That's the Georgia Guidestones. That's the Freemasons. They realized they made a mistake. You got to see this. You've made mistakes by not taking in new information. You've made mistakes with your kids. You've made mistakes with yourselves. You've made mistakes with your friends and your family. And now just own up to it. Take the punishment, whatever it is, and then do better. Be better. Okay? And so for every breath you take in, you must give back. Breathe out. That's nature's payment system. Some people have taken so much from Mother Nature, and so breathing is difficult for them. Is that victim blaming? No. When you have so many predispositions, that's a ledger. That's saying how many times that your ancestors took on loans that they couldn't afford. And you then have to go and pay back that loan. That's the thing, is that they say, you're not responsible for your mother or your father's debt, if they happen to die and they're trying to go after the kids for the payment. And you're like, it's not my payment or my debt. That's my parents' debt, or that's my whatever debt. And that's usually true, unless someone just wants to go and pay it back because they feel morally, against not paying a debt. But that's what predispositions are, is you're paying your parents' debt. You're paying your grandparents' debt for not dealing with Mother Nature at the time that she wanted to, and you're paying back what they took without paying Mother Nature at the time. And it could have been in the 1300s. It could have been in the 1200s. And so when someone is so at a deficit, like you're seeing like something Diaz, Carmen, I don't know if her name's Carmen, I forget her name. But anyways, she's having a child at 47. And I'm like, she has taken so much from from Hollywood, and he actually got paid for it, and now she's having a kid at such an old age. This and I'm saying old in a way meaning that your resources are depleted. You haven't paid Mother Nature to have a really, what you think about, a healthy baby. And so that baby is going to take on predispositions and take on the debt of her mother. And that's what predispositions are. You're taking on debt of your mother. And so if your mother has not paid Mother Nature, then what do you think when a baby is being developed in a body that hasn't paid back Mother Nature? What kind of deficiencies that child is going to have, especially if you're like 72 years old and having a kid in this society when you haven't paid your dues to Mother Nature? That kid now is owing Mother Nature, and that's what the pain is. So that kid's gonna get a deficit when that kid's around people who have paid Mother Nature to some extent, and then the kid's taking on the resources that Mother Nature is giving, which are the viruses, the parasites, the protein, fungus, and bacteria. That kid's gonna feel the pain, not want to deal with it, and be more at a deficit. And that's the spiritual side of Mother Nature, and everything gets a return. And that's what I'm saying. It's so scary for the kids nowadays who are being, who are being born with so many bodies at a deficit. And they don't realize that Mother Nature is not going to allow them to stay too long on this earth, because these viruses are so aggressive. When you're getting exposed to that much information and you don't have the body or the wherewithal to deal with paying back paying back what you've just taken on. Why never ask for these viruses? It doesn't matter. You're on this earth. Once you're on this earth, that payment plan starts right off the bat. And if you don't want to pay your dues, somebody's going to pay for them, and you may pass away. But then if you have a kid, that kid's going to pay for everything that you've ever owed. And that's some crazy shit. That's why the financial system, now I understand the financial system. I mean, I've been understanding it, but I haven't made that. The pain was the connection. The payment was the connection. And I wouldn't have gotten this if it wasn't for the fact that I had the extreme arm pain yesterday. And I had a little bit of it actually around 10 o'clock last night. It was really extraordinary. It was pretty extreme. And I'm like, holy shit, what the hell? And then it stopped. And so the pain changes you. That's what I'm saying. It changes you, but it makes you so thankful that you understand now what it means to live on this earth. That it doesn't mean that you consume until there's nothing left. Because let me tell you, when you do that, it's going to kick your ass. But man has given man shortcuts. Man has allowed man to just do whatever the fuck he wants. And now man is saying, okay, I'm tired of this. Man is Mother Nature. Man will always find a balance. Man makes mistakes. Then you can't get mad at the Freemasons. You can't get mad at the Rosicrucians. You can't get mad at any of these organized societies that have to balance out life and death. And then you start realizing all the bullshit out there. And then you're like, well, what about the exploitation, like with Christopher Columbus? We've made mistakes, but we've had to do what we had to do for whatever reason. I'm not justifying, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It is what it is. But then we have people who are who are missionaries that are going into third world countries and trying to convert people and erase their culture or whatever else, or take on or give viruses that these cultures are not prepared to deal with. And so it's not really the government, when you think about it, that's exploiting fellow man. It's also the West. We've gone into indigenous places and then had to be saved because the indigenous people were like, no, get the hell away, you devil. They were correct. They were so correct. So we even exploit each other. Whether it's human trafficking or trying to convert someone into a religion, into, someone who's indigenous that cannot take on all your fucking viruses, and you're going in there and polluting them with stuff. And they're fine with what they're doing. You going in there and trying to convert them is not helping anyone. And so it's not just the government, it's the people. So take some fucking responsibility. If you're so anti-government and you're also a missionary or, some kind of really fundamentalist evangelical Christian or something, take some responsibility of your part in this. So for every breath you take in, you must give back. Breathe out. That is nature's painement system. Some people have taken so much from Mother Nature, and so breathing is even difficult for them. And that's the predispositions. You owe Mother Nature. Your genetic history of predispositions are a ledger sheet of how many loans your genetic line took out ever since day one. And whenever you came to be, you took out loans against your life. And then your kids have to then go and pay for that, for whatever you did. And then you had to pay for whatever your grandparents did, and your grandparents had to pay for whatever they're, and then it goes down all the way down to the beginning, wherever that is. So when you think about it, when people go to the medical system and they are in pain, not only do they pay to be in pain to the man who also cut into them, but they still owe Mother Nature, and they will never be able to pay her back because they gave their resources, money, to the wrong entity. So not only are you paying someone to hurt you and put you in pain, yeah, you might get a little bit of innovation, but what you did was you shortcutted Mother Nature. And there is probably a financial concept when, is it shorten a stock? Where you're turning something around. Yeah, and you're getting, and what you do is you buy it, you know, what is it, you short stock, you tell everybody to sell. You get everybody to go buy it, and then you sell really quickly. And then you make money off that. Yeah, it's like shorten a stock. In a way, it's like shorten a stock when you're paying someone to give you that stay of execution or give you that allowance to still function like you normally would when you hadn't earned it. And so you're paying someone to do that, and you're still getting that pain of innovation, but you are at a deficit. And you won't have what it takes to pay Mother Nature because you're taking on this debt, even though you paid money to take on debt. So you bought a loan. I guess I don't know. It's not, maybe that's not short in stock. It's like you bought a loan, but the loan is now double against you. So actually, you took on a second loan. That's what it is. You took on a second loan. So the loan was the fact that you paid money to something to take on a loan. Oh no, I don't know. I'll think about that one. But when you're taking on the medical system, you then are still in debt to Mother Nature because you've allowed someone to take your life force so you can stay in the game and still destroy Mother Nature with your resource, with you consuming when you haven't earned your consumption. Because when you are actually paying back Mother Nature for your time on this earth, you're not going to consume as much. You're not going to be out there causing so much of the pollution, right? You're going to be at home dealing with, you being on this earth. It means that you're blowing out your nose. You're taking a rest, a breather. You're staying home and staying safe, wearing a mask. And that's the thing is that so then, yeah, man has developed so many entitled people who take the fucking shortcuts. And so then can you really be mad that people pass away upon their choice? Not necessarily then. Then you're not as sympathetic to people's cancer, disease, and chronic illness. I mean, you can be. I mean, I'm not trying to be cold-hearted. I want to give everybody the opportunity that they don't have to go down that road. But if they decide that, yeah, hey, who cares? It's about what I want, what I need, and that's it. And who cares about, the future or now or Mother Earth or anything else? Fine, then I can't be mad. That's their choice. But as soon as you come upon this information and you're still deciding that, hey, whatever, I'm still take out loans against my life and I'm going to still be cured and all this other stuff, I can't be sympathetic to anything that's going on with you as far as your health situation and whatever. And that's why it's easy for me to cut off people who don't get it, because I'm giving you the chance to get it. If you can't get it cognitively and you have neurological issues, I'm sorry, that sucks. It's unfortunate. But I'm not going to allow you to influence anything that I'm doing. So I'm going to have to cut you off, and you'll deal with this stuff from a peripheral level, which is on my business page. And you'll either take it on or you won't. But I figure if you can't take it on when you're friends with me, I don't know how you can take it on when you're peripherally looking at it through my business page. So then everything is fine. We're all even. Okay, and I have to do that. I got to do that. So when you think about it, when people go to the medical system and they're in pain, only do they pay to be in pain to the man who also cut into them, but they still owe Mother Nature. And they will never be able to pay her back because they gave their resource money to the wrong entity. This is how mankind exploits each other and take each other's resources, all with your permission. So when you're allowing someone to go in and cut out parts of your body, gastric bypass, whatever, you're allowing someone to exploit your resources. Not only do they take your life force, but you also paid money for it. Even if it's free through your insurance, because it's covered through whatever plan you have, somebody's paying for it. Somebody's paying that doctor. Who it is, whatever. From your community, okay. So then can you really be mad at someone can you really be mad at someone wanting their student loans forgiven when you have taken on a policy that is allowing you to pay a surgeon to take out your body parts, and they're getting paid by some, public coffer? Can you be pissed off at someone who doesn't want to pay back their student loans, want it forgiven because back then they were told something? I have student loans, and they are probably double than what they were when I first took them out because of all the stupid interest. At some point, yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna get onto that payment plan. I'm not in default or anything. I'm at, like, what do you call it? There's a name for it. But it is collecting interest. So I'm gonna be around for a while. So if I have to pay $10 a month down the road, then I'll pay $10 a month. It's all income based. And my husband's not responsible for it because I took on that loan before I met him. That's what I'm saying. Know that you don't have, if you have a loan that you took on before you got married, your husband or wife is not responsible for that. So don't saddle them with your own debt. I would not saddle my husband with my student loan debt. I will be responsible for that in some way. But then, people who are right-wing, who are taking from the public coffers for all their surgeries and all their stupid bullshit, you cannot be fucking mad at someone who wants their student loans forgiven. So anyways, so if they would have understood salt and pain and food, they wouldn't have to pay a person to be more in debt to Mother Nature by allowing someone to take your energy, your resources, your life force. So imagine those that could have done the JGs prior to the COVID-19, those that were diagnosed with cancer disease and chronic illness within the last couple of years, because the viruses are causing all that, right? If they would have done the J juice, even before I did the evolution of it, they probably wouldn't have had cancer. They probably would have been in a cured state, and they probably would have released a lot of the demons. And then when COVID came around, they would have enough room to take on the new information, so then they wouldn't have triggered cancer. Okay? So if you understand salt, pain, and food, they wouldn't have to pay a person to be more in debt to Mother Nature. And that's when you're taking on all the surgeries, all the therapies. You are now way more in debt to Mother Nature. She is going to take her due, and it's your life. You won't know when, because these viruses are that extraordinary. So when you're taking remedies, detox, and supplements, you're doing the same thing as a surgeon, siphoning off someone's life force. If a scientist exploits a cell, he must provide nutrients for the cell to regenerate so the cell can still live and the scientist still has something to play with. And so you have to think of yourself as a cell in a laboratory. And no, the laboratory or the people around you are not going to make sure that you are a full person. This is where a person has to be responsible for every single cell in their body. You are the lab. You have every control over how your cells are being exploited, how they must be fulfilled and become whole again. And when you are cutting into yourself, or you're taking something that is stopping the natural mechanisms, then you're destroying what is keeping you alive and keeping you entertained. Just like that cell in the laboratory, that scientist, if that scientist wants something to play with, they have to keep that cell alive. That's what goes on in like when watching Stranger Things. It's very violent. Holy crap, I didn't realize how violent it was. But they torture people up to a certain point until the person breaks. If they were to kill the person, they couldn't get the information out of them, and they wouldn't have anything to play with. So what do to keep their entertainment and to keep the person talking? They hurt them within an inch of their life. and the person is suffering. It's crazy to watch. So let me tell you, I have a stronger stomach now, but I probably wouldn't be able to watch some of this stuff that I'm watching because it's so violent. But that's what goes on in the medical holistic system. You are being tortured so much with all of the remedies, the surgeries, and all of their therapies within an inch of your life, and they're still playing with you. They've kept you alive to a certain point so they can still play with you and take your resources and take the information from you until there's nothing left, and then you're in hospice. And then that's when people go and do the shortcuts, or try to do the shortcuts. They're going to do the J-juice. Nah, J-juice would have worked with you a long time ago before you went to all those therapies. J-juice now, when you're in hospice, when you're so emaciated and you can't even deal with the pain, forget it. You're done. And I don't want to be that pessimistic about someone who finally wakes up after the medical system has completely just exploited all their resources. But what are you going to do? This is not a painkiller, okay? You got to now pay the piper, baby. You have taken out so many loans against your life through the medical holistic system and all of your remedies and detoxes. And now you want to go and pay that all back? And you hardly have anything to you? It's like taking someone who's like, 72 years old and who's taken out all these loans and whatever, and they can't pay them back, and say, okay, now you're 72 years old, you weigh like, 80, 90 pounds if wet, and now we want you to go and work in those mines to go pay back every single thing you ever done. That person would pass away probably within, the first week if they're like 72 years old, weighing like 90 pounds in the heat or the cold of winter. Okay, that's what a person in hospice, when doing J-juice, is like taking someone who is 72 years old, who's retired, and putting them in a freaking coal mine and telling them to pay back everything they ever did. They wouldn't survive because the pain would be so great to level up to do that kind of work. And so while I want to be optimistic for everybody, yay, everybody has a chance to do J-juice. Yeah, you have a chance, but do you have what it takes to deal with the payment system, which is the pain? Poor Bruce Wilmot did not. But did I know this? No. But remember, the medical system couldn't do anything for them. Jelly juice is not antibiotics, so it wasn't the one thing that killed him. What killed him was his lack of resources in his body to deal with evolution. Could he have survived if you had eaten all the food and the food supply, whatever it was that was even offered at the time? Because you had back then the chicken and the eggs and the fruits and the vegetables and the raw seeds and nuts and oils and all that stuff. So we had plenty of access, or plenty of choices to make, to eat. But I'm telling you, when you're taking pineapple juice to suppress your cough and you need to release those demons and you're keeping those demons inside, that's what kills you, is all the antibodies working against your life force, because you're not blowing your nose and coughing and sneezing, as well as feeding yourself all the food in the food supply. Now more than ever today, you really have to eat a lot of the protein. And if you are morally against eating animals, then you better eat a bunch of the soy, because that's a complete protein. So if a scientist exploits a cell, he must provide nutrients for the cell to regenerate so the cell can still live, and the scientist still has something to play with. That cell must become whole again. And that's exactly what you guys are in the process of, becoming whole again, without exploiting somebody else, without taking somebody else's resources so you could become whole. That's why there's so many groups out there, because they're all a fraction of what they could be. They're a fraction of their potential. That's why they say strength in numbers, because you are not whole. When you become a whole person, you're not going to need as many friends. You're not going to need as many family. You're not going to need as many associations, your politics, religion, or science. But when someone is not whole, they surround themselves with people who they think are going to give them what is missing. But in reality, not only are you taking on that part of a person that's making you whole, but you're also taking on their idiosyncrasies that are probably taking away more than what they're giving to you. And then you're just having these unequal exchange of energies, and someone's getting cannibalized in the process. Who it is, well, it remains to be seen, right? So if you're breeding people and animals so you can use them and throw them away when they're not useful, that is a disposable society. So we're going from a disposable society to a sustainable society, which means that those that are already alive, that are adults, are going to be more revered and given the chance if they can deal with the nature's painement system. And the children are going to be expendable. And the elderly, the weak, the totally unaware, That's why I don't want to be out there in the public with all of these gun stuff. Because when you think about it, somebody's just randomly going in and seeing these groups, whoever it is, whether it's somebody organically doing it because of whatever, or it's somebody programmed to do it, you don't know. And so when you're out there doing vigils and doing your activist stuff, or just doing your job in a hospital system, a gun-free zone, you're a sitting duck. And so then you really have to move very quickly with whatever you're doing, because if you stay somewhere too long, whatever it is, you're a sitting duck. That's no different than the virus. You stay somewhere too long, you're a sitting duck. There's so many patterns that are going on right now as far as politically. And this is the only way the New World Order / the Rosicrucians can get the job of balance done, because you cannot go and legislate morals on those who are like, well, I have freedom of speech, I have freedom of this, freedom of that, you taught me how to do this, you told me how to do this, and now they're saying, okay, now we're in the process of change. Can you get with the program? No, screw you, I want to do it my way. Okay, fine, here we go. We have now a very dynamic population right at the surface. And it's, wow. So everything must get a return, and nature always calls in the loan. Mother Nature is transactional. She can only give out so many loans. Eventually you will overstay your welcome. And she'll either call in the loan, or she'll say, see you later. You don't have what it takes to deal with living on this earth. And so my mom was right. You have to earn your way into this world. Nothing is for free. No matter how much they say, oh yeah, it's free, it's free. I'm benevolent. There's no one benevolent out there. Someone's always getting something from it. They wouldn't do it if they weren't getting something from it. Okay? And that's like in any relationship where someone says, oh, I'm the victim. No, I'm sorry, but you're just as much of a perpetrator as you are the victim. You're getting something from that relationship. And if someone is holding you captive and you can't leave, then you have Stockholm Syndrome, or they've kidnapped you, and there's the law. Stockholm Syndrome is something psychological, and then you must get help if you even recognize you have it. And so, yeah, and so we're all responsible for our part in every part of all of this. But when you think about how transactional Mother Nature is, again, when you breathe in, taking in the resources, you now have to give back, and that's breathing out. If you keep breathing in, you're going to die, and if you're not breathing out, you're going to die. Holding your breath, you're going to die. When you're accumulating so many resources in your body, like fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals, and you're having so much of them, you're going to die at some point, because you're not giving back to Mother Nature. You're not giving back the resources you've accumulated. And that's the whole balance. There's that equal exchange of energy. Is everything completely equal? No, Mother Nature will give definitely way more than what you'll give back to her. But then you're very careful on how much consumption you have. Okay? And so while she gives you the beauty of all the trees in the sky and innovation and the elements, use them wisely. And be so thankful for your life. Be so thankful for the resources you have access to. Be so thankful the opportunities afforded to you. And don't take advantage of them. And that's really what nature's payment system is. Pain is letting you know, we gave you something. This is your payment. And sometimes the payment is releasing the demons so your body can live, so she can live. But it's still energy. Just like currency, it's still energy. All right, bye.